my speech started, the time started, right? Okay. Taiwan, like many countries around the world, faces range of social and economic challenges, include poverty, economic inequality, and complex social welfare system. In recent years, there has been growing interest in the idea of implementing an unconditional basic income, which is UBI, as a potential solution to cope with these challenges. UBI is a system in which citizens provide with regular, unconditional cash payment regardless of their employment status or income level. Proponents of UBI argue that it can reduce poverty, promote social justice, and stimulate the economy, among other benefits. First, UBI can reduce poverty. UBI can significantly reduce poverty in Taiwan. According to a 2019 report by Taiwan Institution of Economic Research, around 10% of the population lives below the poverty line. UBI can provide a basic income to all citizens, which can help reduce poverty and provide financial security, eliminate fear, suffering, and extinctional panic, and for a significant part of the population. Secondly, UBI can encourage entrepreneurship. UBI can encourage entrepreneurship by providing a basic income to individuals who want to start their own businesses. It can also provide a safety net for entrepreneurs who are taking risks and starting their own business. One study by Rowe Institution in the U.S. found that the UBI of $1,000 per month for every adult world would increase entrepreneurship by 27%, as an individual would have more finance secure and take risks and start their own businesses. Thirdly, UBI simplifies the social welfare system. Taiwan's social welfare system is complex and difficult to navigate, which can deter people from accessing the support they needed from the welfare. UBI can simplify the social welfare system by providing a basic income to everyone without the need of complicated means testing. Lastly, UBI can reduce stigma. Welfare programs in Taiwan can be stigmatized, which people often view as being dependent on government. A UBI will provide more universal and non-stigmatized form of support, in which people receive the same benefit regarding of their income or circumstances, by providing a guaranteed income for everyone, regardless of their income or circumstances. UBI will eliminate the stigma associated with welfare and ensure that everyone can access to the basic standard of living. Thank you.
Okay, so while the idea of universal basic income may seem appealing on surface, we believe that its implementation in Taiwan will not be a wise decision. The cost of implementing such a program will be too high, and benefits will not be substantial enough to justify those costs. First of all, according to the Taiwanese government budget, the total expenditure in 2022 is projected to be around new Taiwanese dollars of 3.1 trillion. Implementing UBI program in Taiwan will cost at least 2.2 trillion, which is over 70% of the government's total spendings. This is simply not a very sustainable cost for the government, and it would have either cut other essential services or raise taxes to pay for it. Such a massive burden on the government's budget will not only hurt the government but also have adverse effects on the economy as well. Our second argument is that UBI may not address two root causes of poverty in Taiwan. While poverty is undoubtedly a problem that needs to be addressed, UBI may not be the most effective way to do it. Taiwan's poverty rate has been declining over the years. and the government has already implemented several policies to alleviate poverty. One example is the workfare program, which provides financial incentives for people to work. By contrast, UBI could lead to a disincentive for people work. UBI could lead a disincentive for people to work or even lead to inflation. In a country like Taiwan, where labor shortages are already a significant issue, UBI could exacerbate this situation and this problem. Our third argument is that UBI may not be effective in reducing income equality. While the idea of giving everyone the same amount of money regardless of their income level may sound appealing, it could actually widen the income gap. The wealthy will receive the same amount of money as the poor people, and in turn, they may use that money to invest and generate even more income. The poor, on the other hand, may use the money to fulfill their basic needs and not have the resources to generate more income. This could create a vicious cycle of income inequality rather than reducing it. To sum up the statement I've been stating so far, while the idea of UBI may seem appealing, its implementation in Taiwan would not be a wise decision. The cost would be too high and the benefit would not be substantial enough to justify those costs. Taiwan already has policies in place to alleviate poverty, and UBI may not address the root causes of poverty in country. Additionally, UBI may not be effective in reducing income inequality and could even widen the gap between rich people and poor people. For these reasons, we urge you to vote against the implementation of UBI in Taiwan. Thank you. Our first question is that, so you mentioned so how can people start businesses based on only $10,000 per month provided by UBI? Because those people in poverty can't even have money to use for their basic needs, for example, like food or water. So how can those $10,000 be used for start businesses and provide them even more income?
We believe that UBI can encourage entrepreneurship by providing a basic income to the individuals that want to start a business. And this UBI can be used as a safety net, because by giving them some extra money, they can use their original assets to go do investments and start their own business. A study by the Roosevelt Institution in the US shows $1,000 per month UBI for every adult can increase entrepreneurship by 27%. And as we all know, entrepreneurship is very important to our economy, and the UBI can improve our economy overall by creating new business and jobs through those new businesses. Yeah. Okay, my question for you is that you mentioned that Taiwan already has enough welfare. Do you agree that the welfare systems in Taiwan are often too hard to navigate for those people, and the people in need of those welfare systems aren't able to access it very often? You agree?
No, I don't agree.
Are you aware of a study by The Guardian shows that the welfare systems in the U.S. are insufficient to help those in poverty, because those in poverty often receive the aid too late and they cannot receive it when they need it most. Do you agree with this? So
you state it like more clearly.
Okay. Do you think the welfare system in Taiwan is perfect?
No.
So do you agree that unconditional basic income can improve the situation by providing a basic income for people in need at the correct time?
No, I don't agree with that.
Why?
So, in Taiwan, the basic poverty people can get up to about 19,000 New Taiwanese dollars per month. So compared to a UBI, this is like 9,000 more than UBI provides. But however, a UBI costs so much money that we have to cancel other welfare systems. So this will not help to solve the problems of poverty.
So you believe that the welfare systems are sufficient to help the poverty?
Yeah, but we already have enough welfare system to help with the poverty situation. While UBI costs too much money, which is very hard to maintain, and also we have to cancel other welfare systems that is already reducing the poverty. So the current
That is time. Alright, Pro, do you need any prep time?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry. In their speech, the opposition already mentioned several points that they think that UBI is detrimental. From my analysis, they mentioned 3 different points. Let's take a different look at them. The first of them is about the cost of UBI being too high. From our perspective, we believe that the UBI doesn't necessarily have to be equal for the poor and the rich. Everybody can still receive UBI, although we can give the rich people less money because they are not the people in need. The second thing is our plan for UBI is to gain the funds by using UBI to cancel out other welfare programs that are unnecessary. Because UBI provides an unconditional basic income for everybody, and that is sufficient to cover the cost of many different things that the welfare program covered, but the UBI can cover it even better because the welfare programs are often hard to navigate and most of the people aren't able to access it because it is too unreliable and the people often receive the aid too late. The second point that the opposition pointed out is that the poverty rate is going down. I'm strongly confused by this point because the poverty rate is going down doesn't mean we should ignore the people that are still in poverty. And there is no excuse that we should ignore the people in poverty and just say that because the poverty rate is going down, we should not help those poverty anymore. The third point that the opposition pointed out was the widening of the income gap. I would like to tell everybody about how the income gap is calculated by percentage. And by giving everybody the same amount of money, and also by giving the rich less amount of money, it can actually shorten the income gap. Because income gap is calculated by percentage. So if you add the same number, the percentage will go up, which means that the income gap will become lower. And lastly, the opposition mentioned that Taiwan already has enough welfare. That is not true, however, because the welfare in Taiwan promotes passive behavior, and the people will not go find new jobs. Imagine this scenario. You can get this welfare if you earn less than 1,000 NT per month. Then the people will not go try to find a new job because if they earn any more than this, they will not receive the welfare, and they will just try to be passive, and they won't want to find a new job. They'll just stay there and get their welfare. However, unconditional basic income encourages new jobs because the better jobs you have, the higher pay you have, you're actually rewarded for it, unlike welfare. So that means the welfare in Taiwan currently provides as a passive and glass ceiling that the poverty cannot break through. And they will stay in poverty and use these welfare for all of their lives instead of trying to improve them. Below are my rebuttals for the opposition. Thank you.
I will begin with my rebuttal. First, they said that it will reduce poverty by providing a basic income to everyone regardless of their employment status. However, it's still to recognize that poverty isn't just about income. It's a complex issue that stems from a range of factors such as lack of access to education, healthcare, affordable housing, and job opportunities. UBI doesn't address these systematic issues, and it may even exacerbate them by desincentivizing work and reducing labor supply. Second, proponents of UBI claim that it will be funded through taxes on the rich and corporations, which will reduce income inequality. However, this argument ignores the fact that the rich and corporations can easily evade taxes by hiding their wealth in offshore accounts or moving their operation to tax havens. This it means that the burden of funding UBI will fall on the middle of the working class taxpayers, who may already be struggling to make ends meet. Third, they argue that it will promote entrepreneurship and innovation by providing a safety net for people to take risks and pursue their passions. However, this overlooks the fact that entrepreneurship and innovation require more than just financial support, that the UBI money isn't enough. They also require access to resources, networks, mentorship, and skills development. So UBI does not provide these crucial resources, and it may even create a culture of dependency that encourages people from taking risks and pursuing their potential. In conclusion, while UBI may seem like an attractive solution to poverty, it fails to address the root causes of poverty and may even create new problems. Instead, we should focus on the comprehensive solutions that tackle poverty from multiple angles, such as providing affordable health care and welfare that is directed to certain groups, and education, housing, and job opportunities. And we urge you to consider the significant cost and potential negative consequences of UBI.
Okay, I have a question for you. Do you think that UBI can help improve the lives of the poverty?
Yes, in some ways.
Yes. And do you think that do you agree with me that the welfare systems in Taiwan currently promote passive behavior?
Not certainly, because you can't be so sure that everybody will create laziness and lose motivation when they get welfare, and you can't prove that if they get UBI they won't be passive too.
But UBI rewards work the same as the UBI rewards work always, because the better job you have, the better pay you have, the more money you get, instead of our current welfare system.
But in Taiwan, when they get the UBI, they will have poor people will have to support their daily needs, like water and food and other where do they live. So it won't be enough money to apply to a job or start a new business.
So if you say that if you say that UBI is not enough to support these poverty, doesn't that mean that we should give more money to them in order to support them, instead of this welfare that promotes passive behavior and no growth in the economy?
No, I don't agree with that.
So you think that our current welfare programs are infinitely better than the UBIs?
Yes, it's better.
Why?
Because although UBI gives everyone the same amount of money, but welfare is more dedicated to the poor people. Because if you apply UBI to the system, UBI is unconditional, and it also gives rich people and poor people the same amount of money. But welfare is more certainty to give the poor people money, so it might be more helpful for them. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
You're saying that you stated that we should give less money for rich people, right?
Sir?
You said that in your argument we should give less money for rich people, right?
Yes.
But does that mean it's not unconditional basic income? It's because you didn't give the same amount of money to the.
No, because we still give the rich people money, but the fact is they don't need it as much as the poverty.
But if you give them same amount of
That is time. Freddie, Pro, do you need any prep time?
Do you need prep time? Yeah.
Okay.
UBI, which is Universal Basic Income, has the potential to bring about a number of positive changes in Taiwan. Firstly, it could reduce poverty by providing financial security to all citizens. Secondly, it It could encourage entrepreneurship by providing a safety net and secure entrepreneur for who want to start their own business. Thirdly, it could promote social justice by providing basic income for everyone regardless of the income level or employment status. Fourthly, it could simplify the complicated mean testing in which the current Taiwan's welfare system do. It can also make no passive behavior created by the current system of welfare. Additionally, UBI could stimulate the economy by increasing consumer spending, and it will reduce the stigma associated with welfare programs, which could encourage more people to access the support they needed. It can also be noted that UBI can promote entrepreneurship by providing financial support, so they will be more likely to create companies. Several successful UBI experiments and studies were also presented as evidence of potential benefit of UBI. The Alaska Parliamentary Fund dividend reduces the poverty rate for children and elder individuals by around 20%, while the Indian UBI experiment reduced poverty by 28%, and the improved mental health and well-being. Similarly, the Ontario Basic Income Pilot improved food security, reduced finance stress for participants. Not only can UBI bring the poor above current poverty line, it can also stimulate the economy and help society financially overall. By improving the life of everybody, it can champion equality, encourage investment, promote social justice, and improve poverty. Many people who are eligible of welfare benefit do not receive them due to administrative barriers, lack of information, and other factors. Additionally, the current system of being stigmatizing can create a disincentive to work or earn additional income.
Need any prep time?
No.
Alright.
Okay, so first I'm going to sum up our statement so far and then their responses. So first, one of our statement is the inflation. So UBI policymakers inflation since the government spend a lot of money on citizens. So as we mentioned, government have to spend around 2.2 trillion new Taiwanese dollars. So that is a lot of money. So when everybody got a lot of money, then money become less worthy. So that's why the inflation could happen, and which caused the price of food on many basic wages to rise. So for those poor people, those money could barely help them because of the rising price. So and they didn't answer to our problem of inflation. And the next is the welfare. So Taiwan already have welfare that is good enough, which provides poverty people around 90,000 new Taiwanese dollars, while UBI have to spend a lot more money, but only help with poverty people with 10,000 new Taiwanese dollars. So we want a quality of welfare more than a quantity. And next is our next statement is that the poverty rate currently in Taiwan is already very low. We suggest that our welfare system is already doing a good job, so we don't need another welfare system that spends a lot of money, which is a UBI. The poverty rate of Taiwan currently is only 1%. So we don't want to spend a lot of money for those 1% of people, but we want to find the benefits of all people in Taiwan. And lastly, our opponents mentioned that UBI can do a policy which gives rich people less money than those poor people. But however, that is not that is not UBI, because UBI means to universal basic income, which means everybody should get the same money. So I think that's not under the topic of UBI. So so far we think from the debate so far we think we are winning because they didn't answer to much of our statements, and at the same time there's a lot of contradiction to the topic and also to their own statements.
Okay. So do you understand that UBI is only the flow of financial funds around the market? So we aren't just printing money and giving them to the poor. We are transferring the funds from one place to another, from the rich to the poor, to promote equality. We don't print money and give it to the poor.
Yeah, but that's only 10,000 NT, New Taiwanese dollar for poor people. That's not enough to change the situation of poverty. And also, those welfare systems Taiwan already have is also from the taxes we give to government. So it is also transferring rich people's money to poor people. So there's no difference.
But do you agree that the welfare systems promote passive behavior in Taiwanese society?
No.
Why? Because if you earn just a single NT dollar more, you cannot receive the welfare, and that is a disincentive for the people to work for better jobs and strive for the jobs they really want to and have better pay.
But our welfare system already have provided enough of money, and as I mentioned, although that situation happens, our poverty rate is still very low. So we don't want to sacrifice 99% of people for those 1% of people.
Yeah.
As the first speaker stated, that UBI can encourage entrepreneurship and lures people to get to apply to more jobs. Can you give us specific evidence for that?
A specific evidence for that is that by giving a $1,000 UBI per month, as a study showed in the 2021 in the U.S. shows, it increases entrepreneurship by 27%. And entrepreneurship causes an acceleration in market growth. And we can tell that by a study run also by the U.S. in 2013, which states that a $1,000 month in a UBI for every adult can lead to a 12% growth in GDP over 12 years. So that means that the UBI is in fact helping our economy grow faster.
But thinking of the different conditions between America and Taiwan, do you think that probably that UBI will somehow cause inflation? Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree that UBI can cause inflation.
But then do you agree that too much inflation is bad for Taiwan and its economy, and its economic growth might decrease?
Yes, but the economy benefits that UBI can impose far outweighs the inflation. Because if you think about it, by creating new businesses, we can lead to the creation of new goods. And these new goods that are created can help support the market. If we have if a UBI can promote a larger market and promote more employment and growth of GDP overall, it far outweighs the inflation as it can.
That is time. Okay. Alrighty, 3 minutes of prep time for the pro?
Yeah.
Starting.
needed to ensure every citizen has access to basic standard of living and can meet their basic needs, regardless of their income or employment status. This will provide a regular and conditional cash transfer to every citizen, which could help reduce poverty, inequality, and social exclusion. In addition to ensuring the basic economic security for all, UBI could also help foster social innovation, entrepreneurship, and creativity by providing a safety net for individuals to take risks, pursue their passions without fear of economic instability. The magnitude of probability of UBI improving Taiwanese society is greater than the potential consequences. Because Taiwan lacks in equality in employment and entrepreneurship, while inflation is seldom an issue that happens in Taiwan. Employment, equality, entrepreneurship, and GDP growth far turns inflation because more businesses can create more goods and a larger market to counter high demand. And equality and rights are the base of our society that cannot be ignored. UBI can encourage more people to create their own businesses, lessening the unemployment rate and creating more supply of goods and growing the GDP overall. A US study conducted in 2021 shows a $1,000 UBI per month can grow the GDP by 12% over 8 years. And growing the GDP is the foremost goal of the country's economy. That is why our argument is stronger than opposition, that UBI should, in fact, be established in Taiwan to improve society. The benefits of UBI in Taiwan far outweigh the current welfare system as all, because our welfare system is often hard to navigate and access for the people in need. UBI provides an ensured support for the poverty. The welfare systems are only accessible for the people that apply for it through a long and confusing process. UBI can simplify this process further and make it easier for the people in need to access the resources needed. This is why I believe that the judges should vote for us, because we have a stronger argument and UBI is necessary to promote equality, economic growth, and help our society improve overall. Thank you.
All right. Time is 3 minutes of prep starting now.
think that we win because although UBI provides a basic income to everyone, regardless of their income or needs, that means that those who don't need the support will receive the same benefit as those who are living in poverty. This is an inefficient use of resources and could result in the reduction of the elimination of other critical welfare programs to target those who need it the most. And this could result in fraud, waste, and abuse, and it could ultimately undermine public confidence in the program. Secondly, welfare programs are also designed to provide a safety net for those who are in temporary or long-term need. These programs often have work requirements, which help to promote self-sufficiency and provide individuals with the skills and experience needed to enter the workforce. This is important for building a strong and resilient workforce that can support themselves and their family. And this is entrepreneurship is UBI can cause entrepreneurship and more job applications, but they didn't say that inflation will, or if inflation occurs, what will happen? If inflation occurs, even though if they have many entrepreneurships or jobs, the economy will still fall. And finally, welfare programs are administered by the government and are subject to oversight and accountability measures. This ensures that the benefits are being provided in a fair and equitable manner, and that taxpayer dollars are being used effectively. In conclusion, we have argued that welfare is a better solution for addressing poverty in the UBI. Welfare programs have a proven track record providing support to those in need, promoting self-sufficiency, and ensuring accountability and oversight. UBI, on the other hand, could be inefficient, desensitized work and training, and could be difficult to manage effectively. So I say we urge you to vote for the CON.
So, is it Lawrence to comment, to start comment?
So I think we wait till all three judges have made a decision, and then we'll announce the winner, and then we'll deliver comments.
Each comment and then announce, and then let the lead judge announce the winner, or?
Well, usually you pass the ballots to one judge. They'll tell the final results of the decision, and then each judge will give comments. And then I can announce if you want. Sure. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, congrats to both teams on a good debate round. The decision is a 3-0 decision for the CON from IDK. Does anyone else want to start with comments, or?
Yeah, I can start with the comment. I think wait, by the way, what school is KAS? Kaohsiung American School? And what's, Kaohsiung American School? Is it? And what's IDS?
We're from two different schools, so it's Uyghur and Kuishan.
So IDK is what?
From Uyghur International School and Christian International.
Uyghur International? Okay.
Yeah, and Kuishan.
And Quinsan?
Yeah.
So it's Uyghur and Quinsan?
Yeah, Kuishan.
Quinsan in Uyghur?
No,
Quinsan.
that's two different
They're both
schools.
in Beitou and they're different
Yeah.
senior high schools.
Okay. So you guys are from Uyghur or from Quinsan?
One is from Uyghur and the
Yeah,
other
he's
one is
from
from
Uyghur
Kuishan.
and from Kuishan.
Okay, got it. Okay, but anyway, so, quick comment, I think, for KAS, well, let me just pick out a point first. I think during the crossfire, I think with speaker two was speaking versus, speaker one, right? So supposedly speaker one from KAS, you should respond to the crossfire, but not speaker two. And then on speaker one, from KAS, when you were doing the 4-minute speech as well as the summary, I didn't really hear any new information versus the promote entrepreneurship. So I believe from IDK, I think it was speaker one, he asked you about the questions about, how would the, just $10,000 help the entrepreneurship. So you didn't really, answering that part. So basically I did not really hear any new information on that. And then also during the summary part, I think IDK was giving you a counter argument about why would you want to use the UBI, why would we want to use the money to just help support a 1% poverty rate of people? So you could have given them a more, from your statistic or any other research on why maybe the poverty is not really 1%, even though that's what they say, but you should prove that. And then also tell them about why you think the $10,000 can help entrepreneurship, right? Because I believe, the other team talked about, not other team other than your school, talk about entrepreneurship. But then, let's say if we do get $10,000 a month for your entrepreneurship, and I believe the other sources was emphasized that you need like minimum of 300,000 to really have a entrepreneurship going, to have your start own business. So does that mean you have to wait for around 3 years to really have your entrepreneurship going on? So you guys could answer on that. So and then the IDK was talk about how just because the welfare is hard to navigate doesn't really mean UBI automatically becomes better solution, right? Just even though you talk about how welfare is kind of hard to navigate right now, but does not mean like providing a UBI would already cross out the current welfare situation. So yeah, that's my quick comment. Yeah.
And as for me, the protein claim that implementing UBI can reduce poverty, encourage entrepreneurship, simplify social welfare system, and reduce stigma. And actually, since it's a policy debate, so I think it's the protein's burden of proof to give some more details about your plan, like where does the budget come from, and you mentioned that you're going to raise tax, and how much tax are you going to raise? So I think it's your burden of proof. If you didn't provide that kind of plan, the details to the plan, then the counting can attack that. The costs are too high. However, I think that if you brought up your plan, and maybe you can argue that maybe the costs are not too high compared to those benefits or advantages that you have brought about. And also, the accountings are still attacking back the inflation argument, the inflation part. And actually, I like the response from the protein that claiming that it's just taking some more money from the rich to the poor. So actually, I think that response is correct, but I think the counting has to attack some more and have some further attacking on this on their response. Otherwise, this point will just disappear. Yeah, and I think I would like to see or hear some more solid examples from the protein, because you keep claiming that there are many disadvantages of implementing UBI. However, if you didn't provide any solid examples, then it'll be hard for the judges to imagine that who can benefit from this new plan. Like the entrepreneurship, then maybe you can provide some example that who can benefit from this UBI and how can they take the UBI and maybe do some investment or something like that. And also, the benefit of this simplifying social wealth system is because it's the advantage that you have brought about. So it'll be your burden of proof to give us some imagination or some framework to convince us that if the government implements UBI, then it'll be a better place for the Chinese government. And I would like to praise teamwork from the counting because you guys deliver your speech separately, but I can see that there's teamwork between your teammates, and I would like to praise that. Yeah, just some quick comments for you guys. Thank you.
Okay, I'll start by addressing the thing that you said to me, which was like, you don't like it when judges are expressive during debates. And I can see why it would be distracting, but I'll make the case for why it's good, which is that it gives you immediate feedback on the arguments that you should and shouldn't be extending, right? Like if a judge is like clearly not persuaded by your argument in the heat of the debate, I would much rather know in the debate to switch the argument than to continue barreling down the wrong path. And if you'll notice the argument I was shaking my head at, it was the one in which you claimed that the UBI allowed for differential money to be given to rich versus poor people, which by definition, as the con team pointed out, is not a UBI, because the whole point is it's universal and basic, and it's not means tested. And at the point you're giving different sums of money to different people based on their income levels, well then that by definition is means tested. And the reason I was shaking my head is because your partner then immediately in the next speech stood up and said, the reason why it's so good and it solves stigma is because everyone receives the same amount. So your only answer to the cost point was contradicting what your partner had said in the earlier speeches. So yes, I can see why it might be distracting and I'll try to rein it in the future, but I would also say it's like a good signal to you to be like, oh wait, there's this argument this judge is not persuaded by, you know, that should be my cue to like switch to something else that might be more persuasive as opposed to finding out at the end. And I would think that transparency is better than the opacity here. Okay, in terms of the actual arguments, I think very similar comments that I've given before, although I guess I haven't judged you two before, but before, which is just, I think the pro's doing a little better this time at explaining how their arguments interact with the other team's arguments, but I think a lot of the problems stem from the summary speech, which is entirely pre-written and has virtually nothing to say about any argument that con raises. And so even the pro gets a lot of their like main points across, they're what we would call extended through ink, which means, you know, imagine a paper flow, and the judge is basically just drawing arrows to connect the argument to the next speech, but there's just a ton of red ink in the way of the responses the con makes, and you're not really dispelling them in any way whatsoever. And that's going to make a lot of the pro final focus speech pretty new. I mean, in fact, I think large swaths of it are new, including the mention of this Roosevelt study that's like, oh, we like grow the economy by X and Y GDP. I don't really remember when that was introduced earlier in the debate. That seems totally new to me. And a lot of your arguments to some of the like inflation points, like GDP turns inflation, seems totally new to me because it just wasn't mentioned in the summary speech. And at that point, I'm evaluating like maybe 50 seconds worth of content, and I just don't think that's enough to overcome the con's main arguments, which I mostly think are just a reasonable defense of the efficacy of welfare. I think it's like reasonably targeted. It seems to be good at directing resources to at least some of the people in need. And it seems good that we would give more resources to like people that are like, for example, disabled instead of just 10,000 NT a month. And so even if there's like some marginal differential between the two, I would say that at the very least the con's got this like, we save a bit of money and target the money that we do spend at the right people. In terms of the con, I think a few things that you could do to make this argument a little bit stronger. One is, I would point out that like 10,000 NT a month is just not enough for a lot of people who really need the money and are super poor, right? Like, the pro is kind of admitting that they're getting rid of welfare, right? Because that's kind of their whole point about eliminating the stigma associated with welfare, making sure the means testing thing doesn't like unnecessarily complicate the process. I would imagine that most people who need welfare are getting more than 10,000 NT a month now, right? So for a lot of people with welfare, they're actually seeing a net reduction in what they receive because they're getting their welfare, let's say 20,000 a month, because they need that, let's say, for housing assistance, food assistance. If you're disabled, maybe you need that for, like for disability accommodation. If you're sick, you need that for medicine. And they're axing that and only giving you 10,000. And so I would say that for the most harmed individuals, like, yeah, some of them will be not caught because welfare has means testing. But for the ones who are helped now, they're seeing a net reduction in how much they're helped. I think adding that in there would be very helpful. And then second, I would just tack in the line that's like, well, even if welfare now has got these problems, that's not a reason to jettison or get rid of welfare. This is a reason to improve it, right? Like if their main issue is like it's unnecessarily difficult to use, like, okay, fine, to make it easier to use. Like why that welfare is hard to use does not mean break it all down, put in a UBI, it just means fix welfare. I mean, I think those two responses, or those two additions would make your argument a lot stronger. For the pro, I think the final focus is pretty good, assuming the summary said most of the things the final focus says. I think you talked to your coach and you had like the conversation of like, here's why fostering direct GDP growth via business creation is more important than inflation. Good instincts, I like those. I just don't think it was anywhere earlier in the debate, so it's hard to give you credit for that. And so I'd say like the main thing is take some prep time before the summary speech and just make sure you're responding to the com's main points. And make sure you're really carrying through the arguments you want to be in your final focus. If you know that you want entrepreneurship to be in the final focus, then you need to make sure that every piece of the puzzle that you want to use to build your story in the last speech is present in the summary so that you can sell it. Otherwise, I think a lot of these arguments just end up being pretty new. Okay. I have other thoughts, but if you have questions, those are probably more useful. And also, if you want the flow / my comments, I will happily share that with you all. But yeah, any questions, comments, or concerns? All right, well, if you want a copy of the flow, feel free to scan this QR code. It'll take you to a Google Sheet that has all of my comments written down inside of it. Good round, good luck in your next one.